This lesson is about what to expect and how to prepare for your first class. First, some common misconceptions. One is flexibility is not required. A good teacher will teach you how and where to develop greater range of motion, but it is less important in a yoga practice than most people think. Yoga is not a religion. It can be practiced by people of all faiths and religions and by people who are atheists, agnostics, or have any other belief system. It is a practice of concentration, not one of worship. Many people believe yoga is too hard for them. Before you go to a yoga class, find out what you can about what to expect. If you find yourself in a class that is too challenging for you, take breaks and do what you can. Then consider finding a different class. There is a class that will work for you. Conversely, many people think that yoga is too easy for them. So also, before you go to a class, find out what you can about what to expect. If you find yourself in a class that is not satisfyingly challenging for you, consider finding a different class. There is a class that will work for you. Now, before your first class, tell yourself you can do it. Many of the things that happen in a yoga class take time to master. Let yourself be a student. Be okay with not mastering it immediately. Learning yoga can be a wonderful process. Everyone is a beginner when they start, and it's okay to be a little awkward and not to feel like you mastered everything right away. What and when to eat before class will be a little bit different for different people and practices, but generally you want to have a fairly empty stomach without being so hungry that you don't have enough energy to work. When you find a class you want to try, ask the teacher or studio what their recommendation is for that class, and know that it may take some time to figure out for yourself the perfect balance for you between having energy without feeling too full. Wear something that is comfortable to move in. Factors like the temperature of the room and the athleticism of the practice will affect exactly what is most appropriate. If you aren't sure, ask the teacher or studio what they recommend. Also, expect to be barefoot. Yoga is practiced without shoes or socks, and you might want to bring a towel if it is a class where you expect to sweat a lot. Arrive at class hydrated enough that you won't be thirsty during the practice. Drinking water, especially cold water during practice, can make it uncomfortable, but it is important to be hydrated, so prepare yourself by drinking plenty of water before you practice. Because you may be practicing very close to others who are being asked to breathe deeply, please do not wear any fragrance of any type to yoga classes. Many yoga studios provide mats for their students. Ask before your first class. You may want to consider using your own, but try out some different kinds or ask for a recommendation from a good teacher if you are able. There are many types of mats with a wide price range. Some classes include chanting of Sanskrit words or prayers, which is an ancient tradition that came from the same culture that gave birth to yoga. If this is not your thing, it would be good to know about it ahead of time so you make the best choice for you. Ask the studio or teacher before you choose a class whether chanting is to be expected. Some classes include recorded or live music. Some people love it and some people don't. If music during yoga class is not your thing, it would be good to know it ahead of time so you can make the best choice for you. Ask the studio or teacher before you choose a class whether music is part of the class. Some classes are done in a heated room. Some people love it and some people don't. Inquire about temperature would be a good practice to do before choosing a class so you can find the best class for you. There is no need to warm up or prepare the body before class other than having it be clean, well-fed, and hydrated before yoga class. A good teacher will take care of preparing you for anything physical that needs to be prepared. Now some things to keep in mind at your class. First, what to tell the teacher. It is important to tell the teacher before the class begins about any active injuries or special conditions you have. They will probably ask, but if they don't, tell them. Otherwise, you may be asked to do something that is not good for you. Special conditions that are important to tell the teacher about are pregnancy, arthritis, and pressure-related conditions like glaucoma, detached retina, or high blood pressure. Most yoga classes are carefully sequenced. A class sequence is the list of poses or practices that are done and the order that they are done in. Some types of classes have the same sequence every time, and some have a different one every time. Try different things until you find what works for you. In most yoga classes, it is okay to ask questions of the teacher. If you are not sure what they are asking you to do, try to get clarification. If you are confused, it is not your fault. Ask questions. In many classes, the teacher will do physical adjustments to assist, teach, or deepen the pose. If this is something you would not feel comfortable with, ask the studio or teacher before you choose a class. There are also many classes where this does not typically happen, so choose the one that works for you. In yoga classes, props, which are things like straps, blocks, folded blankets, and other types of supports, are frequently used. Use props when recommended by the teacher. Consider them a part of the practice if the teacher is using them to teach their particular methodology. Yoga classes are cell-free zones. They are a place to disconnect. If you have an emergency where you must have your phone, like having a sick child at home, for example, tell the teacher ahead of time and check that it is okay. Most teachers have a clear protocol for such situations. Because yoga class is a practice of concentration, and because class sequences are created to prepare the student for where the class is going, it is important to arrive on time and to stay for the entire class. If you arrive late, wait a moment and try to enter the room when the students are moving from one pose to another. If you know you need to leave early, tell the teacher ahead of time so that they can tell you how to go about it. Almost all classes end with a period of lying on the back, very still, with eyes closed, which lasts from 5 to 15 minutes. This is called Shavasana. This is an important part of the practice. If you have a hard time keeping your eyes closed, you might want to consider bringing something to cover your eyes with during Shavasana. Talking to others during class is highly distracting to the other students and to the teacher. Please avoid it. Save the talk for after class. If you feel inclined to add in a few poses of your own, please avoid doing it. Instead, consider finding a teacher that provides an experience that satisfies you, or ask yourself why you must do more. Doing something other than what is being taught is extremely distracting to the teacher and confuses the others in the class. Taking moments of rest during the practice is a part of the practice and should not be considered a defeat of any sort. Yoga is about listening to yourself, not fighting with yourself. Do what you can, pause when needed.